accounts receivable, if I go to all sales orders, I can click on the options action pane and select add to the workspace. And right within here, I can select this list page to be added into a specific workspace. Let's go ahead and pick and choose customer invoicing workspace. Here you have an option to select this specific list page to be shown as a tile, list, or link within that customer invoicing workspace. Let's start with the tile. I click configure. Here you can change the name of the tile and decide whether or not you would like to show the count within that tile. Show count will show the number of records available within the sales order. I click OK. Let's go back and take a look at the customer invoicing. Within this workspace, as you notice, there are 749 sales orders available. The navigation search functionality also includes a much requested feature for power users. This gives a capability to quickly navigate to a page based on a technical form name. Many users, such as developers, are so familiar with the system name, they know the exact form names they work with. A developer or a technical person can enter a word form, followed by the name of the form that they're looking for. For example, if they enter form vend invoice, the search results will show all pages where the form name starts with vend invoice. As you see, the search results include all the pages which have the form name starts with vend invoice. This time, if I type in cost invoice, the search result only shows the pages that the form name starts with cost invoice. Now it's time to talk about filtering options. Let's get started by learning how to filter and sort the grid columns. As you see, I am in vendor invoice entry workspace. On the detail area, there's a grid page. I select the first column, and by clicking the down arrow, you have the capability to sort alphabetically, either descending or ascending. Let's go ahead and sort the results based on a descending order. Going back, sort the results based on an ascending order. You see you have a different view of available records. I also can filter the list of values based on the operators. As you see, some of the examples are as follows. You can search a record or a group of records that starts with a specific word or letter, or you could force it to be exactly a specific value, or use the negation or search within the name that contains a specific word. This is true for every single one of the other columns on the grid. This time I select the name and I choose the operator to be contains, and I type in supplier. By clicking on the apply, the search results shows all the vendors that they have supplier as part of their names. In order to clear the filter, all you need to do is select clear button. As you notice, I have a capability to save this result as a new view. The standard view is the out-of-the-box view of the page, where no personalizations are applied. I click Save As and give this view a name, such as California. Within here, I can give it a short description, which is optional, and pin this view as the default view. That means when you open this list page, the view will appear. I click Save. Now you see California is shown as a view. I can switch back to a standard view in order to show all existing vendors. Going back to the name, I filter the results for those records that they have a name start with letter A. Similarly, I can save this view with a name that starts with A. I click Save. Therefore, I have two new views, California and start with A. I switch back to a standard view. This time I use the quick filter and I search for those records that they have a group equal to 40. The results shows all the vendors that they have a vendor group equal to number 40. Let's go ahead and save this as a new view. I specify group 40 as a name and I save this view. So as we see, it's very simple to create a brand new view based on your search queries, criteria, and filters. You notice that I have access to all available workspaces and menu items because I've been assigned to be a system administrator. Now it's time to take a look at some of the operational workspaces from the main dashboard or from the Workspaces menu group. I choose Sales Order Processing and Inquiry. Depending on the pattern, it consists of different areas: summary, detail, and links. From the top of this workspace, I can perform actions without going through the sales and marketing main menu and look for these specific menu items. The workspace makes it a bit easier, and it will be act as part of the primary navigation mechanism for each role. You can consider the workspace as a form that supports a specific business activity. In this scenario, it supports all the business activities related to sales order processing and inquiry. It allows a user that is a member of sales and marketing department perform light tasks in this workspace to avoid the round trip to deeper pages. It also enables a salesperson to understand the current state of activity to support informed decision. For example, as you notice, there are 2 unconfirmed sales orders, whereas there are 153 delayed order lines, and there is 1 confirmed sales order. However, there are no orders on hold. From the main menu, I click New and select Sales Order. The Create Sales Order dialog box will appear. I choose a customer account. System automatically populates adequate information such as delivery name and address. It also provides me with a sales order number. Due to the setup of the number sequence, the number has automatically been created and assigned for me. We have a different discussion in regard to the number sequences in a separate video. The default currency is United States dollar. As part of finance series, you learn how to work with currencies and how to set up the default currency or accounting currency as well as the reporting currency. By scrolling down, you can also take a look at the order type, which happens to be the sales order. You can default the side and warehouse that could be indeed defaulted for each line within this sales order, regardless of which product you're using. This takes precedence and applies the side and warehouse for each product that you're adding in, even though the product may have a different side and warehouse as a default value assigned to it. As you notice, I only type in the warehouse, but since the warehouse is assigned to a site, the value of a site automatically gets populated. For now, I click OK, and a sales order automatically gets created for Cave Wholesales. And depending on the system requirements that has been assigned within the system, the requested ship date and receipt date has already been selected for me. Assume that the requested ship date happens to be the March 16th of 2021. However, the requested receipt date is 3 days later. You could also simulate the delivery dates, which we will discuss in more details as part of our supply chain management series. I collapse the sales order header line, and from the item number from the sales order lines, I choose an item. I select A0001, which is the HDMI 6-inch cable. Let's introduce some of the icons on the top right-hand side of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations app. The first icon is Change Legal Entity drop-down. As you notice, by clicking on the company, which happens to be the DAT, by doing the drop-down, you can see a list of existing demo data that has already been deployed as part of the deployment of this instance of Finance and Operations app. In the real implementation for sandbox environment for your customer, you usually do not wish to have the legal entities to be populated with demo data. However, for training reasons, we encourage you to use the demo data. Within the finance series and as part of the core functionalities, you learn how to create your own legal entities. The second icon, we know it as an action center. Any messages that will be populated here communicate with you in regards to the status of the action that has happened. For example, if you are going to publish a mobile app, Workspace, it will appear here whether or not you have successfully published that mobile app. The same story is true when the new feature is available as part of the feature management. So consider the Action Center as the pane in order to have Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation to communicate with you. You can see all the messages or clear the messages as you read them. The third icon is a settings icon, which consists of user options, task recorder, mobile app, and personalize. Every single one of these is specific menu item that have their own video. The fourth one is the question mark icon. Consists of a feedback, help, support, ideas, trace, and about. The last tab is workflow. As you notice, on the first section, you have notification. For the workflow, you could send notification in an email. You can turn that option on. If there's any information in regard to be notified that the workflow is awaiting for your approval or review, you could send a notification via email by selecting this option to be yes. Or you could make sure that the Action Center, as we discussed, has that information available for you. Line item workflow notification type, which is a specific portion within the workflow, can be grouped or could be sent individual notification as is necessary. In order to save time, enhance the speed of sending notification, I rather keep it as grouped and send a notification to Action Center. You also have the capability to delegate the activities for the workflow by adding a specific scope, which could be both module and workflow, by selecting the all and choosing a specific delegate, which is the end user by username, a particular period of time to be enabled. If I choose only module, you can pick and choose the name of the module that you would like to enable a particular delegate, such as budget plan, to be associated with, let's say, Alicia, from a particular date and end with a desired date. Within this period of time, which is the week, which you may be out on a vacation, Alicia can be delegated to perform your tasks in that time period. You could enable it or disable it. If you choose the workflow, you have the capability to pick and choose a particular workflow to be chosen for a specific delegate, such as Arnie, within a time frame of your choice. So either a module or a workflow can be chosen to be enabled as your delegate, or for everything, you could associate Arnie within that time period to take care of the business. Within the delegation menu, you could enable them all or disable them all if you have multiple lines in the delegation area. Since I don't want to use the delegation, I remove this record and click yes. You can always take a look at the usage data. For this demonstration, I click New in order to create a brand new party in my global address book. As you notice, depending on the number sequence settings, the party ID has been automatically assigned. And from the drop-down of the party type, I can select either an organization or a person to be the type of this party. Also, after you create the global address book and add a new record, you can create additional address books as you require, such as a separate address book for each company in your organization or for each line of business. For example, USRT, which is a United States retail business, could benefit from having multiple address books in order to associate different stores with a sets of employees that can work in there. We have more discussions in regard to address books in our Dynamics 365 Commerce or as part of our Retail and Commerce module in Finance and Operations app. At this moment, I don't wish to create a brand new contact for this party. I collapse the tab and expand the relationship. So for this demonstration, I'd like to have party A to be a perspective to party B, and from the ID list, make the guide to GAB to be a subsidiary of CD Manufacturing. So depending on the type of a party, remember, could be a worker, you could actually choose two different names and make one of them to be the spouse of the other if they are a person. In this scenario, I make the guide to GAP to be a subsidiary of CD Manufacturing. On the header tab, I can define notes for all customers, a specific customer, or group of customers. On the lines tab, I can define notes for all items or a specific item. Needless to say, you can have multiple rows for different groups or different items. To set up advanced notes for vendors, we do the same, but this time we go through accounts payable, expand the setup, advanced notes, and select vendors advanced notes setup. The rest of the steps are very similar to the accounts receivable. In order to set up document types, I can navigate through Organization Administration, expand Document Management, and select document types to define the document types that are used when the related document attachments are created. Expanding the modules, purchase orders, and choosing all purchase orders. Another location in which I can directly go to the print management will be appeared under the setup group within the general action pane. I click on the print management. Within here, you see the hierarchical view of documents that can be managed within the print management. I expand the documents, and as you notice, I can control the purchase order, product receipt, purchase inquiries, and receipt list, as well as the vendor invoice. Assuming that I choose the purchase order, I can expand it, and as you see by default, I do have an original settings, which is the default. By selecting it, I can choose to have one original and many different copies. You have a capability to suspend printing for this document. And for whatever the reason that business requires, you may want to have the purchase orders not to be printed at this time, perhaps for maintenance reason or redesigning the purchase order. Let's talk about case management in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations app. First, I navigate to Organization Administration and expand Setup. Then the cases. Here is where you can configure components of the case management. You may wonder, what can you do with the case management? By using this feature, you can create cases for the issues that strike during the course of your business, such as record, update, track, follow up on, and close the issues that are raised by your customers, vendors, employees, or even cases that are created through your audit processes. By planning, tracking, and analyzing cases, you can develop efficient resolutions that can be used for similar issues. You can use the case functionality to resolve both issues that are external to your organization and internal issues. Let's first take a look at case categories. These category types allow you to organize your cases related to the business processes. For example, if there's an issue within the production line, surely you should select production as the main category type. And under that, you can create a variety of different subcategories with different names, but they're all related to the parent category as type production. For this demonstration, I expand the general. As part of the demo data, as you notice, the category type is general. The name is general also for generally available cases. As you notice, you can change the category type or parent category after you save this specific subcategory. Within the hierarchical level, once the general subcategory is selected, if I click New, you notice that the category type and parent category are already selected and I cannot change them. However, I can specify a new name for this new case category. For the moment, I delete this record. For each case category, you can assign an owner to be the worker and set up the default department for this category. Optionally, under the follow-up group, you can associate an email ID for correspondence. If you have already designed questionnaire, you can associate it with the case category. A case category could have a default case process assigned to it. The case process usually should set up processes that employees must follow for the case that are opened in your organization. Processes help guarantee consistency for the people who are involved in the cases. Here, we can assign a case process as a default for this specific case category. We can also assign a service level agreement which defines the level of service you expect from a vendor or a customer expects from you. In other words, the service level agreement laying out the metrics by which the service is measured. For example, you could have a service level agreement that you will respond back to the case which identifies the issue within 3 hours with a specific price or within 24 hours with a different price. As part of project operations or project accounting and management in finance and operation apps, we talk more about service level agreements, which also will be discussed as part of service management module of finance and operations app. By expanding the activities fast tab, you can define whether or not an activity can be created automatically for this case. Only appropriate employees in an organization should have access to cases and related information. To control which employees have access to view, create, and update different types of cases, you can assign security roles to case category types. You have to make a decision which security roles should have access to available category types for each specific category type that is available out of the box that are listed here. From General to FMLA, which stands for Family and Medical Leave Act. I'll go back to organization administration and this time I click on Case Category Type Security. Here is where you can assign a case category and decide which security roles can manage the cases related to this specific case category. As a personnel who is responsible to work with cases, I can go to the Common module and expand Cases. Here you can see all cases that are assigned to you as an employee, those that are still open, those that are open and belong to you, any cases that are overdue and you have not addressed them on time. If there is any case has been assigned through a workflow to you, and the cases that are assigned to a queue that you're a member of. As part of our workflow video, you learn how to work with creation and using the workflow in finance and operation. Needless to say, you have a node in which you can click on all cases and view available cases within the system. I can create a brand new case or a dependent case. The difference here is if I click on a case as new, you can specify the name and a case category. If I cancel it and click on new, if I select the dependent case, in this scenario, since I've already highlighted a Sparrow Retail, the name automatically has been picked up. It creates a brand new case ID as a dependent case for case ID 0001. In order to show you that within the detail page of the product information, I can select General from the action pane, and within the product information, I could create a case right off of here or view all the cases that relates to this product from this specific page as well. By clicking on all cases, you only see the case that is related to this specific item, which happens to be the case that I just made. By going back to the case ID, I'm back to the original page. As part of the service level agreement, the work that you do in order to resolve the issue may be billable to a customer. Therefore, you have a capability to record the time that you're working within this case. Could be even the time that you spend over the phone with the customer. You can change the status of the case by selecting the change status dropdown. By going through this demonstration, you have already seen how to work with the case management by configuring it, creating the case, and managing it. In this section, I'd like to talk about the overview of business document management in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations app, and also how to configure and use business document management within the system. I strongly recommend learning about electronic reporting, which is a separate video with the title of Configure and Use Electronic Reporting in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations app. The reason is the business document management is built on top of the electronic reporting framework and enables business users to edit business document templates by using Microsoft 365 Service or appropriate Microsoft Office desktop application. Electronic reporting framework is required to update the templates of business documents. However, if an expert has already configured the electronic reporting in your instance, the business users don't require the knowledge of the electronic reporting framework to update the templates of business documents. To start business document management, you need to enable business document management feature. In order to do this, I select Feature Management, Workspace, I select the All tab, and I search for the word Business. As you notice, the business document management will be appeared. It's always a good idea to reuse and customize data models that are released by Microsoft whenever you can, or to create business domain area-specific data model that will introduce the abstract model of required entities and their relations. As you saw in my previous demonstration, I've already downloaded some of the data models and mapping formats from the LCS. Once the customer FTI report configuration file is highlighted, I'll click on the Designer button. This will open up the Format Designer. As you notice, depending on the model mapping format, there's a root node, which I can expand it. And as you notice, there are sub nodes available under the root node. By further expanding sub nodes, you can get into the hierarchical structure of the format, which is indeed can be viewed within an Edge browser as an XML viewer. I expand a few more nodes. As you notice, the XML elements are indicating that I can select any of these specific XML nodes that define the format of this specific report can be indeed have its own configuration. Now is the time to use the Business Document Management Workspace. I navigate to Organization Administration, expand the Workspaces, and select Business Document Management Workspace. To make it more interesting, I choose a completely different record, and this time I select View and choose Copy. Again, the Excel document will be available for me to be opened or to be saved. I select Open. I enable editing of this specific Excel worksheet, and I tile it and arrange it to the left. By a simple comparison, you notice that the images are different because I'm using two different templates and there are two different business documents available. One with, one without, the text below the image. And also the information within the documents are different as well. I choose a report format that I've created two new versions of. I go back to the list page, I click on the view and select Original. Microsoft Excel will open up. I click on Enable Editing, and as you notice, my newly added line is being shown in this business document. Within this specific course, you learned how to prepare SharePoint repository for the document type for the business document management, enable the features in order to enable the business document management workspace. You learned how to configure electronic reporting and import configuration files within, use the format designer within the electronic reporting, enable the access permission to use the business document management workspace, add a functional area for the business document management workspace, create a new template off of the configuration, adding new versions for the business documents, and use it within Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. As you notice, by default, none of the mobile apps offered by Microsoft out of the box have been already published. Even if I pull to refresh on my mobile device, there are currently no mobile workspaces available. Now, switching back to Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations app, I can select the More options from the menu, and I could import an existing mobile app from a different environment. Assume that my colleague has already created a mobile app by using the mobile app framework environment, exported it, and now I can import it and bring it into this environment. I could do the same. I could create my own mobile app workspace, export it, and make it available to be imported to a different instance of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations app. For this demonstration, I start by creating a brand new application. I provide a name as Customer Management. I assign a description for this application. I can pick and choose a specific color for the workspace, such as raspberry, and indicate what icon would I like to choose. My mobile app, like any other mobile application, requires a page. So the first thing you need to do is add a page. I click Add Page, assign Customers as the title with a description which will be appeared on my mobile application, such as Show All Customers. By default, the page name will be auto-populated. I click Done. Now it's time to add fields into this page. There's a button called Select Fields. In order to select the fields, I use the menu Select and Expand Modules, navigate to Accounts Receivable, and choose All Customers. As you notice, the list of existing customers are being shown. The mobile app framework is smart enough to understand the underlying data source for each page or list page that I'm navigating to. That is why the Select Fields button is enabled. By selecting this specific button, you notice that selected row graphically adds plus icons next to each field which is selectable to be added into my mobile app. You can select any other record, and as you notice, the icons will move accordingly. I click Save in order to create the record, which I can simply delete it later. Then I click Done. It gives me the same message, but this time I have guaranteed that I've completed the actions such as save, delete, submit, or any other actions that are necessary. This time I click Yes. My action has been created. I click back twice, and now the customer actions has been added. Therefore, I click Done. And similarly, when I click Save, I can choose the existing ID. Remember, I never needed to unpublish in order to change any of these enhancements to my mobile app. I pull to refresh, and this time by clicking on the Customer Management app, you notice that at the bottom of this screen, I have action. And by clicking on New Customer, it actually creates a brand new customer for me. I give it an ID, a name, a customer group, a zip code, and a street perhaps. When I click Done, it does sync my changes within my mobile app, and it will actually save the data into my finance and operation. Users can view, edit, and act on business data even if they have intermittent network connectivity on their mobile devices, or their mobile devices are completely offline. When a device reestablishes a network connection, offline data operations are automatically synchronized. Therefore, at this moment, the change is waiting to be synced. Let's say I have a slow network. If I switch back to Finance and Operations app, switching back to Accounts Receivable, All Customers, I can verify that the customer that has been already created right off of my mobile app is being shown in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations.